Hello, yes, it's Joe here for Joyrider TV, live from the Whirlwind Boat Park in Vasiliki on the island of Lefkos in Greece. Ready for another riveting question and answer session about catamaran sailing and anything else, but mostly catamaran sailing, I should think. And let's just kick off by looking at something interesting. Yeah, it was on the thumbnail screen picture. Yeah, so we've whipped a deck off a Tiger. What? Why would you do such a thing? Yeah, we've whipped a deck off a Tiger, and because the deck was going soft. And if you ever wondered what the inside of a Tiger hull looks like, here we are. So this is what we call the subdeck. And then these are what we call bulkheads. Hi, Oglecan, nice to have you on board. Yes, we've got bulkheads, we've got a subdeck, and see there's... Okay, I think we're back on. Sorry, I just dropped out there for a second. But, hi, James. Always a pleasure to have you on board. And hello, James. Always a pleasure to have you on board. Hi, Steve-O. Always a pleasure to have you on board. Yeah, Steve, so this is sort of relevant to you, Steve, is today I started... Hi, Kush. I started filming the FX1 assembly video. Look at this pair of absolute champions just looking like they're ready. Hi, Christian. Nice to see you too. Although I can't see you. Hello, Sailing Jiggers. Always a pleasure. Yeah, so this pair of absolute rude boys just waiting to get out there. Whoop, whoop. Oh, that is nice. New rigging. Was that from Hobie or did you get it custom made? There's a question. What do you do? The Hobie rigging or custom made? That is the question on everybody's lips. Hi, Chris. Sounds like a song in that. Oh yeah, there's a song in everything these days. Yeah, so it's quite blustery today. Oh, from Hobie, made to order. You know that you're getting everything exactly the right length, and I think that in knowing you're getting exact when you get it's the lengths are perfect, and you know. So I've been painstakingly expensive. That's good. Yeah, I should think. What we're looking at about... Hi, Herbert. My Hobie 15 is repaired now. The beams of my 16 and 15 are the same. Do you actually mean they're actually the same? Like you've got... What's that? You've got 16 beams on your 15. That is pretty radical. That's going to be a wide 15. But good luck with that. I think that's exciting. But here we go. This is, for those of you who tuned in on time, this is a treat for you because I've been undertaking quite a project of the refurbishment of my Tornado mast. And today it got released into the wild. It's on the trailer, but here we go. Oh, yeah. It's, yeah, so I spent a very, very long time getting it back down just to the raw carbon, and I've just put Pacific and 16 have the same mast shape. Yes, it is true actually. Yeah, the 16 and the Pacific do have the same mast sections, so you could cut down a Pacific mast to put on your 16. I think everybody needs to know, if that's all right with you, Oglecan. Oglecan in Turkey has just bought a second-hand Hobie 16, and the delivery company who was delivering it snapped his mast for him. I don't think Turkey is an easy place to source. Well, obviously there's the expense, but then the sourcing of a mast in a country where it's not easy to get a mast out to. So if anybody happens to be in Turkey with a 16 mast just kicking about, then there's someone who really needs one. What was that you said, Steve? Can't get one of my Delrin screws in all the way. Yes, yeah, it sounds like your thread is probably, oh, is it? Oh, okay, maybe I should switch to the 4G. I'm on Wi-Fi at the moment, which is always a little bit turbulent. Okay, I'm going to switch to the... Actually, I find a Pacific mast, but don't know has the same boom joint area with a 16. Yeah, I think with the cutting down of a Pacific mast, what you probably have to do is cut a bit off the top and cut a bit off the bottom, because then you could keep the hounds in the same place. So then you could keep the mast tang in the same place, and you wouldn't have to change that if you're cutting the mast down. Let's just do a very quick and crude test to see if it is the same section. I'm not, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure. All right, so here we go. 16 mast, there's the hand. The hand looks like that. We'll put this to the committee. Then Pacific mast, we happen to have a Pacific just next door. It's very convenient here. I think that, yeah, okay, the Pacific mast is a fatter section. It's a fatter section, which I would say means that unfortunately it's not going to work. Sorry about that. But I think yeah, I think so too, Chris. Yeah, a bit wider. It's not going to work. So back to the drawing board in Turkey there. But as I said, if anybody does know of a Hobie 16 mast in Turkey that's going begging, or perhaps, yeah, it is definitely wider, I think. Or perhaps if you are in like sort of Thessaloniki way in Greece. In fact, we can find out if there's anybody there in Thessaloniki who might have a 16 mast, because there are some 16s over that way, and that is very close to the Turkish border. So perhaps that could be a possibility over there. Okay, yeah, so Steve, with the sticky Delrin, well, you wouldn't believe it. Oh, hello. Someone's come prepared. Yeah, so if you're getting the screw about flush so that the bottom of the screw is level with the casting there, then that is usually what I would call my starting point. And for a boat like an FX1, sorry, I don't want to get too much wind in the microphone. A boat like oh, only halfway in. Oh, then in that case, you've definitely got a problem. So what I would do, this is what I would do, is I would re-tap the, is it called tapping? To remake the thread. This metal is really soft. So if you get a, that is, I like that question too. Okay, I'll come back to you on that. Yeah, so, yeah, tapping. Yeah, so re-tap the thread. I've got a tap here, so I'll find out what tap size that is. Or alternatively, just check out my video that's called Recondition Your Rudder Stocks. And that actually shows how to re-tap the thread, and it's got all the sizes and stuff on there. So that is what I do, but I definitely take the whole lot apart, take the screw out completely, take the spring out, maybe shove something up it to clean it, and then have another go, put some grease on it. chase the threads with a tap? James knows. Amazing answer. You're the man. I think that was a collective answer. Everybody's here to help each other. I think that's nice. All right, let's see. I don't think I missed anything from before. Okay, it's not too hectic just yet. I like it. What is the maximum weight for 2 people on the trapeze? That's from from Canmore. Well, interesting question. Depends on the type of boat. Like most of the boats will have a CE sticker or label on them at some point, and on that label it will actually put what the maximum weight is that you can carry on the boat. Right, I've got an example. We're going to find an example. This is so exciting. We're out in the boat park. Hobie 16. Okay. All right, my example wasn't going to be quite right for you, but hold on, I'll show you the example anyway. Where are we? Where's my example? Oh, it's just hiding there. Okay. The example is just there. You can't see it. All right, not a problem. But on this boat, this particular boat says 200 kilograms, and on a 16 maximum weight double trapezing, I'd say you don't want to go much more than 200 kilos. 200 kilograms, which would be, what's that, 440 pounds? Is that right? To the mathematics department, if you could confirm that is about right. 440 pounds would probably be somewhere close to as much as you'd want to put on there. The boat can take it. The 16 is so strong, it can take it, but you'd need a fair bit of wind to dangle that amount of man off the side of the boat. 440.95. I was close, I think. That's pretty close. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. How long have you been sailing, asks Daniel. I've been sailing for, this is a scary thought, this means must be getting old, something like 35 years. I know you're thinking, how can that even be possible? It is possible. I started when I think I was about 10 years old, something like that, maybe a bit older, maybe more like 12 at the time when I started. Oh, that's, so there we go. We've got a glimmer of hope there in Turkey. Ogulkan has found a 16 mast in Athens, can transport it. Born in a wetsuit. I hope not. That would be quite uncomfortable. But yeah, I've been into it for quite a long time. And ever since I got on a boat, it was kind of like, as a young person getting into sailing, I think if you've got children, it's a good sport to get them into, because if they get into it way before when they can drive a car, it's such a novelty to be in control of something that big at that kind of age, that it's quite likely they'll get into it, because it's like, wow, look, I've got this big thing, I can take my mates out and all this sort of thing. Of course, with safety in mind. But that makes it quite a good option to get your kids into sailing, because it is a big thing. Like if you, for example, like the Hobie 16, which is the industry standard as has been established. If you've got a Hobie 16, then there's nothing to say that in a light wind, in a very safe environment, you couldn't have sort of young, not younger kids, but like 12-year-olds or something taking it out. If the wind's light, it's they'll probably embarrass you by sailing it better than you do, and the only thing holding them back will be their actual weight, because they certainly won't be 200 kilos on the trapeze. So doesn't matter what type of boat you've got. I think get the kids involved, because if you get them involved at the right time, it could be something that carries them through. And I think it's a really positive sport to be into, which I'm sure you're feeling that as well. If you're watching this, then you're probably feeling that sailing is a positive sport to be into, because it just keeps you off the streets and gives you a focus, takes you away from it all. Good for the social distancing, good for relieving the stress, good for giving it the beans, and putting yourself against the elements. Yeah, it gets rid of any excess cash. You don't want that excess cash, because who knows what you might spend that on, like things that are important. No, spend it on your boat or things to do with your boat. Stickers. Yeah. Yeah, by the way, if you haven't got your Joyrider TV stickers yet, then they are available. And we're kind of doing a sticker pack. This is the Total Joyrider. Oh yeah, is it backwards? Yes it is, because we've got the camera flipped round. But in real life, hold on, let's flip that round so it's forwards. There we go. These are actually made by James. It's not backwards, not now, it's not. Was it not backwards before? Looks, I think so too. That looks so sweet. Let's zoom out. Oh, yes. And that is where you'd want to put it on your 16. So that's the Total Joyrider sticker. I've got the Joyrider TV stick. You know, it's okay. Christian, what are you saying? It's better than okay. It is fantastico. We're just looking for another one. This is the problem with having several boats. It wasn't backwards here before. Okay, Steve, I believe you. It's all right. Okay, I can't find... I definitely had one on it. Oh, sorry. My son is enjoying being the fastest monkey on the speed stick in the USA. Yeah, nice to have you on board there, Steve. I thought that someone would be pleased that we just launched the 16 speed stick, especially if you happen to be the fastest US sailor. Where do we get the stickers from? Yeah, I can either post them out from Greece or from the USA. Chris, I believe you're in the UK, so probably sending them out from here would be most practical. Who can say? But basically, if you want the stickers, send me an email. And what we're doing is like a sticker pack, which would be 2 of the Joyrider TV or Total Joyrider stickers. I'm just a little bit confused as to where the other boat has gone, which had the other ones on. But yeah, 2 of those, and then as well as that, you get the calibration stickers as well. Camera tip: mount a GoPro Max 360 on the forestay. It's unreal. Okay, if you'd like to send me a GoPro 360 Max or whatever it's properly called, I will gladly do that. But at the moment, if enough people buy the calibration stickers, then maybe the new camera is coming our way. But there we go. I think that sticker's covered. Send me an email if you want some stickers. We're doing 20 euros for the stickers, and then whatever the postage is going to be on top of that, because it's all part of the great scheme of keeping this stuff coming. And maybe it means I can afford a GoPro Max in the future, because news just in, the footage from the bridle wires is awesome, and I'd like to get involved with that, I think. Was there something else that came in just there? Oh, Hein Faber, are you fully open for tourists yet? No, the village has been filling up. Well, not filling up, but it's kind of awake, let's call it. and there are restaurants open, there's bars open. It's very pleasant indeed, but we are not quite open for tourists yet. Our opening date is July the 1st, and I think we have got some people from Greece who are coming at that time, and then from the 4th I'm expecting some tourists coming from Germany, and I've heard that Holland is being received by the Greeks now as well. What videos can we look forward to in the coming weeks? What a question. Oh my goodness. Okay, so the next one, hopefully I'll have this finished tomorrow, is how to assemble an FX1 or similar. The similar boats would be like a Tiger, a Pacific, anything that you put together with nuts and bolts. Steve-O's happy with that because he's got one. Yeah, so that will be the next one. And then after that, I'll just make a quick video. This will just be a quick one. I don't think everyone will think this is quite so exciting, but how I achieved this fantastic finish on my tornado mast. I've only just got it out today, out of the painting room. That's what the inside of a tornado mast looks like. This is a Masterham carbon tornado mast. Oh my goodness, that looks fresh. So I'm going to do a video about the tornado mast. I'm also doing a video about how to build a tornado catamaran. I've actually got two there. Okay, show us your cat. This is a quick one. This is Bad Boy 94. Thanks, James. I knew that someone would appreciate it. Yeah, that is Bad Boy 94. Whoo! Can't wait to get on that. And then my plan is, once I've got Bad Boy 94 together, I'm going to be going out on it solo and do some training. And of course, I'm going to bring you guys along for the ride. I think that is the sort of thing that I do. Yeah. As well as that. Hi, Marco. Nice to have you on board, as always. Yeah, what else have I got up my sleeve? God, I don't know. These videos, they're pretty organic, to be honest. It depends on what I'm doing on the day, and if I think that you're going to benefit from seeing that in action. Oh, the starting sequence, yes. That was a big one from last week's. Hi, Damien. Oh, Damien, just got to say hello to Damien because Damien was absolutely dominating the Hobie 16 leaderboard. Don't know if I should break it to you like this, Damien, but the Aussies are in. I'm just going to leave it at that. Okay, sorry, I just missed a few. Yes, so the starting sequence video, yes, that's obviously going to take me a little bit of time to set up because I'm going to have to put some buoys out and go sailing. But that is definitely one that I am going to invest some time in setting up, and hopefully I could get that done next week. This week is a little bit tight now because it's just a bit tight. But next week, I can't do the weekend, so that'll be next week that I'll get on to that. To be honest, time is the most valuable thing in the world, and that is what the teenagers need to understand, or people without kids need to understand how precious time is, because once it's gone, you don't get it back. That's deep. Okay, just gonna scroll back. Okay, that was a good question. Sorry, dialed N07. I can't remember what your real name is, so I'll call you 07 for now. Okay, William, with the Chinese knockoff cameras give knockoff quality. They're a tenth of the price. Yeah, I think if you don't go for something that, yes, but in short, yes, in my experience, anything that is cheaper isn't as good. A friend of mine, his dad once came up with something very, Russell, of course, yeah, sorry. Okay, I'll try to make a mental note of that. What my friend's dad once said is, you can't afford to buy cheap things. And I believe him, because I bought some non-original GoPro batteries thinking, hold on, I can get 5 for the price of 1, and the reviews said these ones are good, but nothing compares to the original batteries. And if that's the case with the batteries, it's going to be the same case with the whole camera, I believe. So yeah, I think you guys deserve premium quality, and that is what I am aiming for. Oh, we've got Damien has issued, I don't know if that's a sad face or just slightly unhappy, but all right, so Chris would love to sail a Tornado, Dart 18's big sister, designed by the same guy. To be honest, okay, yeah, so to get a Tornado could be a bit juicy in the price range, but to be honest, what you get for the money is such better value than anything, any F-18 or similar modern design boat. You could, if you wait and when one comes available, you pounce on it, you could get a Tornado with a carbon mast, all ready to go, probably with a trailer, trolley, for something like £5,000. That is a ridiculous amount of boat for the money. Okay. We need a Tornado ride. Yes, so do I. Oh yeah, I'll be the one doing it. All right. Yeah, once Bad Boy 94 is assembled, we're getting out there. What is your recommendation on cable length for new adjustable trap wire? When you're talking cable length there, Steve, do you mean the actual trapeze wire? Because that would still remain as a standard part. Or do you mean the lengths of kind of all of the different parts of the assembly? Let's take a quick look at an adjustable trapeze system. This is why you're here, to see an adjustable trapeze system. So this is actually on a Hobie Tiger. So from here, it's exactly the same as on a 16, but then what we've got is above that, we've just got an adjuster here as well. Oh, considering the Dyneema line to replace this stuff, yeah, I think that's a good shout. In which case, yeah, I would make it probably, what are we talking there? You want to have the handles so it's still at a good height. To be honest, I haven't got the numbers there, but you want to have the handle at a good height so it's still grabbable. But as long as the handle's grabbable, then you've got all of that adjustment to play with. There's Steve-O. Steve-O's coming in fast with the numbers. That's impressive. All right. So there we go. Sorry, I didn't have the actual answer there, Steve. But yeah, Damien agrees. You can't afford to buy cheap things. I think or buy cheap, buy twice. Perhaps that's another one. Or buy cheap, buy slightly disappointed. Of course, some things, you know, cheap things are good. Like, I'm even going to pop you out here for a second. Oh, okay, and what I use for all these videos is, this is the same brand as these aftermarket batteries I got. this is so good. This kind of, it's like a monopod thing with legs. Smart Tree, I think is the brand. Got it on eBay for £20, and it's the best thing. I really like it. It's so good. It's a telescope and everything. All right, scrolling back. Yeah, Cushnows, please hit the like button. Very good. All right, just going back. All right, this is one of my favourite questions from Valentine. What's the highest speed you've achieved? The highest speed I've achieved with the GPS is 25.6 knots, and that was on a Hobie 16. In my opinion, the Hobie 16 has potentially the highest top speed for a non-foiling catamaran. This is because of the hull shape. Let's take a quick look at the profile of the hull. On the outside of the hull, it's really flat, like almost as flat as a board in the midsection, which means when you're lifting the hull ever so slightly, the boat is kind of planing like a windsurfer or a water ski or something, planing, but rather than planing like that, flat, it's kind of planing like that on its side, which means that that hull doesn't actually have a top speed. A planing hull will just go faster and faster and faster, and the top speed of that hull will be much, much more than a displacement hull. A displacement hull like that you'd have on a Tornado or a Hobie Tiger or a Dart 18 or a Hurricane 5.9 or a Prindle 18.2. Yeah, so those boats would have a top speed, whereas the Hobie 16, as long as you can stay in control, you could just keep going faster. My target speed for once we've got a safety boat here is I want to get 27 knots. I know it sounds ridiculous and possibly sounds a bit dangerous, but that is my goal. I think it's very important to have a goal, a target, and that is what I'm looking for. So thanks for asking. It's my favourite type of question. All right. Have you managed to get enough staff out to Wildwind for opening? Things are kind of looking up. We're still looking at a way that we can, I don't know, somehow manipulate the system to get staff out here from the UK before it's allowed. I know that's really badly behaved, but we really need to. So that is what we're going to look at. But we've got a few staff coming from Germany, before the start of July, which is going to at least give us some numbers. All right, just coming back. What do you think? Oh, hold on. Yeah. Fog asks, what about the Spitfire 16? I've sailed a Spitfire twice and I really liked it. I thought it was excellent. It's like basically like a Tiger, but with 2 foot shorter hulls. It very much handles in the same way. Excellent boat. You could probably pick them up these days for not too much. And they have got, if you happen to be in the UK, they've got a circuit in the UK, a racing circuit, and they are competitive on handicap. Steve loves the Spitfire. If he had a crew, he'd have one. I think you can't say fairer than that. So yes to the Spitfire. There's 2 on Apollo Duck. Steve is, I would wager that Steve is on his laptop. He is got one hand on Google, one hand on the live stream. I think hats off to Steve there for juggling. What do you think about the foiling Nacra Cats? Asks DJ. Oh, D Jonathan. Thought it was DJ Onathan, like yes, I would love to have a go on any of the Nacra foiling catamarans. If you happen to be a Nacra dealer or distributor who's watching, let's get a Nacra foiling catamaran here, and I'd be very pleased to have a go and make some videos about it. We're not like exclusive with Hobie or anything, so we're using the Goodall design boats as well, although we've only got one at the moment, but we are working on more. But very keen to get as much going as possible. I want to get a Dart 18 out here as well, because it'd be interesting to see how the Dart, this is unrelated of course, but that Nacra FCS 20, yes please, I'd like to have a go, because I think that must do over 30 knots, surely, probably a lot more than that. Okay. James asks, Swedish John going out with you on the Tornado? No, Swedish John is unfortunately in Sweden, so for my Tornado training exercises, I'm still a solo operator, so I'll be going, I think my new revelation that I've come up with is called leave the jib at home if you're on your own, because if you're going out in a strong wind and you've got a sail on the boat which you're not constantly in control of, that means you're not in control of what is going to happen to you, because you could get a big gust, you could let all of the main off, and then the jib could still pull you over. So since taking the 16 out without a jib, it's the new thing. I'm into it. All right, hold on. How exactly do you manage the jib traveller lines on the 16? Actually, this is going to be in an upcoming video with the jib traveller lines, because I've had some input on this from various people. I think we've got some for next week's Show Us Your Cat, in fact, some innovations. But what you do with the jib traveller on the 16 is pretty much exactly the same as what you're doing with the main traveller. Like, if the main traveller is halfway out, then you should put the jib traveller halfway out as well. Or better still, put the jib traveller a little bit further out than the main, and that means that you're less likely to have the jib stalling the airflow around the back of the mainsail. So, for example, if your main traveller is in the middle, jib traveller can be in. If your main traveller's at the tow strap, then I would say, even if it's that far out, then I would go for the jib traveller. Can I pull that? Okay, maybe not. But I'd go for the jib traveller all the way out. Now, the way that we have the boat set up, and this is the point that has been addressed quite recently from some emails that I've got, but with the jib travellers that we have, we only pull it out on one side at a time, because if you want to pull it out on both sides, it means that your jib sheet has to be much longer. So when you tack or jibe, then you just have to swap the jib traveller over. But if you're sailing single-handed and you're not going to be playing the jib from the trapeze, then there's no reason why you couldn't have perhaps a longer piece of bungee between the jib travellers if you are running a system like this, and then you could have both jib travellers all the way out. There we are. Okay, hopefully that explains a bit about jib travellers. And then just with the jib traveller line, it's just tied off towards the outside of the boat, so even if you're on the trapeze, you can get hold of it and off you go. There we go. All right, just going to back pedal here. Okay, Valentine asks, what's the hardest part of sailing for you? The hardest part that I find, which only really happens in races, is marginal conditions. Because in very light winds, I'm very happy in very light winds. I'm extremely happy in strong winds or very strong winds. But in marginal conditions where it's not quite enough to double trapeze, those conditions. Because I generally run quite a heavy team, and those are the conditions where we're getting punished by the lightweights, and that burns. And sometimes it's difficult to stay positive when you're getting abused by the lightweights. That is the hardest bit about sailing for me, or in a competition where things are just going badly, and trying to stay positive, it can be very difficult, because you can get a bit clouded in a competition that you forget that it's just about getting out there and having fun, and you think for some reason that it's about doing well in the competition, and if you're not doing well, that gets in the way of you having a good time, which makes doing competitions sound really foolish, but it is the easiest way to suck the fun out of the sport, is by getting into doing competitions. Although getting into doing competitions is also the best way to improve your sailing, because then you'll know whether you're sailing well or not so well, or which areas you need to improve upon. Okay, just gonna scroll back. That was a good question, thank you. I can't remember who that was who asked. Valentine, have you ever sailed a Hurricane 5.9? What are your thoughts over F18? I sailed a Hurricane 5.9 quite a long time ago, probably 20 years ago, and compared to an F18, it's narrower and heavier. F18 certainly feels a lot sportier, but in the UK, the Hurricane 5.9 is a great choice, especially if, you know, even with an F18 now, you have to, if you want to be competitive in a race, you know, to buy a Hobie Tiger, which there's Hobie Tigers available which are at a good price, the Hobie Tiger isn't going to be particularly competitive against a Nacra Evolution or a C2 or something, whereas the Hurricane 5.9 does have an active racing fleet in the UK. And if I was in the UK, it would certainly be one of the options that I'd look at, because you can pick up a Hurricane for like £2,000, which is ready to race. And it's a really great fleet, really friendly, good to get into. So I'd say the 5.9 has got legs and should be considered. Okay, just scrolling, rewinding, scrolling back. Okay, just Fogs go by a Spitfire instead of a Hobie Cat 16. Yeah, it just depends on what your situation is, what you want to do with it. I think if perhaps if you're in the UK especially, and you're going to be racing, then, and you've got a crew, regular crew, then the Spitfire is going to be a more interesting choice than the Hobie 16, because I think the Hobie 16 racing, apart from the nationals, is still not particularly active in the UK. Perhaps there's little, there are places where it is active, like I think it was Rock in Cornwall, where we featured Spladoosh, of course, but where there seemed to be some Hobie 16 going on, or in Jersey, you could move to Jersey. But yeah, go for the fleet. If you're, I would always go for the fleet. Whatever the fleet is, go for the fleet. It's a good choice. All right, just scrolling back. If you get a Nacra, I'll be there for sailing it the day after. Yes, I'll be building it as soon as it comes off the truck. Now here we've got Garibaldi. G'day, Joe, or good day, Joe. Who can say what the accent is? What is the best way to tie into a cat with a safety line when sailing solo, if it is necessary after all? Yeah, after the video I did on safety features, there was a few comments about having a line attaching you to the boat so that if you did have a man overboard situation, you wouldn't become separated from the boat. I think it's just a case of look at the boat that you have. You'd want to. I'd think you'd want to have like a quick release on the line that you are attaching yourself to the boat with. I'd say, in fact, a very good choice might be to get a kite surfing leash, a kite leash, because these come with a very well designed quick release, so it'll keep you attached to the boat. But if things start going wrong and you don't want to be attached to the boat at all anymore, you could pull the quick release and you'd be off. I think that would be a good choice. And then generally with those, you'd have a carabiner clip on both ends. So then wherever you're positioning yourself on the boat, just clip yourself on and then as you were. But yeah, or the other thing you could do is kind of clip through the loop which comes from the main sheet and the traveller. That means you'll be attached to the boat, but you perhaps won't be quite as restricted because there'll be a lot of length there, so you're not going to get in quite such a mess as like if you clipped into the trampoline lacing at the back, for example. Then if you tried to move forwards, maybe your leash would restrict you. It's a good question. We'll do some experimenting on that. Okay, DJ Jonathan, or D Jonathan, at a windy day, I was surfing some big waves with a Hobie 18. Nice choice. Doing a downwind flyer, which was fun. I was wondering how you leave a wave. How do you do it? That is a strong question also. To be honest, I'm not the most qualified to talk about waves because generally I sail on flat water. Big shout out to Calvin from Kentucky. He's on board. Come on to that shortly, Calvin. Yeah, so what I would do is if I'm coming down a wave, when I want to get off the wave, I would start heading up again to kind of come along the trough and then back up a little bit. Okay, perhaps on the world tour, on the Joyrider World Tour, I'll hit some big wave spots and we'll do some testing there. But sorry, I couldn't give a better answer to that one. Okay, just scrolling back. Hi Stephen, nice to have you with us. And we're on with Dean from Australia. At what speed do you need to be able to send it and use the trapeze? Yeah, I think what we're talking there is wind speed. Depends on the boat. Let's say, unless you specify which boat you're talking about, we'll assume it's the Hobie 16, just because statistically that is the most popular boat in catamaran in the world. So you never actually have to use the trapeze, this could be a revelation. Maybe my next high wind video I make, how about this, will be high wind sailing, no trapeze. Would that be popular? Just give me a yes or waste of time emoji. Don't know what the waste of time emoji is, but yeah, but that you don't have to use the trapeze. Using the trapeze will make you go faster. Giraffe Box says yes. James says yes. Ali says yes. Kush says yes. I've heard many talk downwind, don't use trapeze because you go deep. Stephen says yes. Calvin says yes. I'd say that's a resounding yes. Maybe if there's a bit of wind on tomorrow, I'll go out and do that tomorrow. Because also, no trapeze means more comfort around that region of the body, which is nice. I do like occasionally not wearing a trapeze harness. I know a lot of you probably think I sleep in one, but it's not true. But the when can you start trapezing? On a 16, let's say if you're on a 16 solo, you're about 80 kilos, then you could start trapezing probably in about 10 knots of wind, upwind. Yeah, that is when you'd start trapezing, about 10 knots upwind when you're solo. But sending it, double trapezing in 16 knots. There we are. And we could also do how fast can you go without using the trapeze single-handed. Wow, sounds like a fun day. All right, just scrolling back. Okay, just scrolling back. Don't ask me anything just yet. All right, hope that answers your question, Dean. Don't answer though, because I'll lose where I am in the scroll. What is the bracket at the base of the mast foot on your boat you just looked at? Okay, let's return to this Air 16. I think, were you talking about this one, Steve? If you could say yes, it was that one, or no, it wasn't that one. But this bracket here is for a spinnaker pole. That is what that's for. And I'm guessing that's the bracket that you mean. There we are. Yeah, if it's not that one, just give us a toot and I'll have a look at what other brackets we've got available. All right. Stephen says there are 10 Spitfires at Graffham. Graffham Water, I used to work there actually. Great place for racing catamarans in the UK. Sort of Cambridge, Huntingdon kind of way. Relatively easy to access from the north of London. Okay. Hi, Stephen. You're never too late at this party. Good to have you with us. How do you post to show us your cat? That is a great question. Yeah, the easiest explanation is to, hold on, I'm trying to flip this around. Easiest explanation for that is if you go to any episode of Show Us Your Cat, go to the details of the video, and then there'll be a whole list of, but you just email me on totaljoyrider.com. Is it? No. totaljoyrider@icloud.com and send photographs, video, and some information about your boat, where it is that you sail, who you go sailing with, when you got it. Yes, says Steve. Yes, says Dean. Okay, this is very positive. There's a lot of yeses here. There we go. Oh yeah, so we've got Calvin here in Kentucky, USA. And we were talking about Calvin's having problems, which I'm sure everybody who sails a Hobie has these problems with the cams inverting when you lift the rudders. This is a problem. Here we have a rudder stock. So just to explain, this is the cam. This is what locks the rudders down. This is the cam in the position that you need it to be able to lock the rudder down. And what happens sometimes if it's not working properly, or if the spring inside here is a spring, if it's not working correctly or the spring is really tight, this is what the cam looks like when the rudder is locked down. And then when you lift the rudder up, this can stay in this position. And if it's in this position, you can't lock the rudder down again. So, yeah, flathead screwdriver to flip it back up. It works. We do that here, of course. But what can you do with the setup of your cam? Calvin said even with his screw very loose, the cam still stays in the lockdown position a lot of the time. What we do is what I'd always do personally is take the whole lot apart, take everything out, clean it up, and then once it's cleaned up, the next thing to do, I've come prepared, Calvin. I've actually put one in my pocket. This is the plunger. This is the part that basically sits under the cam, and that applies the pressure to the cam, which holds it in position. The screw adjusts the tension on the spring, that adjusts the tension on your plunger. But sometimes, if we try putting the plunger in the gap, or in fact, a lot of the time, the plunger, if we put that in the wrong way, we can see the plunger is too wide and it'll kind of jam in there. So I would say it could be a jamming plunger. So to make your plunger the non-jamming type, take a file or a bit of sandpaper and just do opposing sides, flatten them off until it's a good size so it goes up and down in this slot without jamming. And I think that will reduce the amount of inverted cam that you're getting. The other thing that will help, but this isn't practical for everyone, and I totally appreciate this, is when you go to lift your rudders, the traditional method to lift your rudders is, of course, to grab hold here, pull it up, rudder comes up. If you have got to lift your rudders before you get off your boat, so you absolutely have to lift it from here, when you lift, just try pulling this way as well. Bit of technique, because if you pull this way, then the cam stop plate, the plate that locates in the cam, will have a little bit more to flip the cam back up. So not just up, but this way, up and forwards, and perhaps that is enough. Thanks very much, Kush. You are quite right. My servicing the rudders video is very good. Even, I think it's like, I made it, what, 6 years ago, something like that. Yeah, so that is, as Stephen says, that's a good tip. The other thing, what we do here, because we have our rudders really tight here, because the boats are constantly being used in really heavy winds, and if we had the cams any looser, the rudders would probably kick up while you're going along. So what we do is we wait until we've stopped the boat. The crew will take the boat at the front, or one person will take the boat at the front. The other person will get off the boat, rudder's still down, go to the back of the boat and lift the rudder by pulling up the blade. And by pulling up the blade, that guarantees that the cam will come back upright. So I hope that that perhaps helps a bit. But there's options. But I think get it so that your system is working as well as possible, and then that should hopefully sort the problem out for you, because you should be able to lift the rudders by you're welcome, Calvin, it's a pleasure. Calvin is one of the patrons of the Joyrider TV channel. Everybody else should get involved there, because that helps. Then that GoPro Max for the 360 view might be coming sooner rather than later. Yeah, so there's always a way, most of the time. You shouldn't have... Yeah, and might be worth replacing your cams as well. Look at the condition of your cams. Check out the service your Rudders video. If the condition of your cams is not so good, then it is worth replacing your cams. That makes a difference. All right, just scrolling back here. Gonna sort of wind this up fairly soon. Been at this now for over an hour, and it's probably about enough for today. All right. Right, Russell says, I've heard many talk downwind, don't trapeze because you could sail deeper. Absolutely true. So what Russell's saying there is on the downwind, probably on the boat with, thank you, Steve-O, that is a great endorsement there. Everybody read Steve's comment that he just left. That is a great endorsement. In fact, just before I move on to what Russell's saying about downwind with trapezing, I'm thinking of coming up with a new scheme on Patreon. Let me know what you think. But I was thinking I'll make a fairly exclusive tier on Patreon, which would be something like $15 a month. And for that, what we could do is one-to-one Skype, FaceTime, whatever you like, Facebook Messenger video conference, where we could have an exchange one-on-one about anything that you need to talk about with your boat. What do you think about that as a concept? I'll come on to that in a second, Simon. That is a good one. Yeah, so downwind trapezing, there's this thing called VMG, which stands for velocity made good, which is kind of like angle versus speed. On the downwind, if you go a bit closer to the wind, you'll go faster, but you won't necessarily get to where you want to go. This is actually a massive topic. So it really depends on the wind strength, how heavy you are, and which type of boat you're sailing, whether you trapeze downwind. If it's choppy as well, getting the boat going faster generally means you can sail the boat smoother. In the tornado class, even when it's perhaps the B button, Steve knows how the game is played. In the tornado class on the downwind, even if it's not absolutely toasting, we'll trapeze downwind, so then we sail faster, and that means the boat cuts through the chop a lot better, and it's a lot easier to keep the boat going smoothly. Whereas if we're going for depth by sitting in on the downwind, then it's more difficult to keep going smoothly. But that's a massive one, and we'll address this in an upcoming video at some point. But it's absolutely massive. But thanks, Russell, for bringing that up. In a kind of, we'll get onto that later kind of way, because it's too massive. It's too massive for this. It wasn't even a question; it was a statement. But I couldn't help it. Okay. Do you prefer sailing on a lake or sailing on the sea? I definitely prefer salt water. Because I think there's something about the salt water that because that's what I do most of the time, your boat floats a little bit higher, which means it gets going a bit earlier. I dare say Steve-O with Google in the right hand can look up the statistics for how much quicker your boat is in salt water. But I I like lake sailing as well. Do a lot of events on Lake Garda in Italy, and it's fantastic. But the salt, yeah, sea sailing is the one. Thanks, good question. Okay. Please do a demo of non-trapezing. Yes, it's in. Are there, all right, this is Nitro Hero Racing Team. Good to have you on board. Are there any Hobie 20 Miracles left at Wildwind? Used to own one, could handle some hellacious waves on Lake Michigan. We used to have two Hobie 20 Miracles, not Miracles, but Hobie 20 Formulas, which I think is the same hull shape. But I think, is it right that the Miracle has got a carbon mast? Is that true? Or did I make that up? But we used to have two Hobie 20s here, but that was quite a long time ago. They haven't been made in Europe for a long time now, probably over 20 years. Great boat, quite heavy, quite similar in fact to the Hurricane 5.9, which we were speaking about earlier, but very nice boat, but no, we don't have any. They got replaced, in fact, by the Hobie Fox, which was a great boat, like a big FX1. Okay. Prindle 16, Hobie 16 changed my mind. I'm guessing, Simon, that you currently sail a Prindle 16, but you want me to sell you a Hobie 16. I'm not going to do that because I've never sailed a Prindle, and until I do, I can't. The Prindle 16 might be the best, the most fun, fastest bad boy out there, but until I've actually done it for myself, I can't tell you that the Hobie 16 is better. However, oh, here we go, Steve, with the results. Hold on. Boats will travel. What? Faster in fresh water, less resistance in fresh water. So come on, freshwater sailors, get on the speed stick. You've got a 1 to 2% upper hand there to go faster. But the Hobie 16, I think the bottom line with the 16 is it feels absolutely fantastic. It's got a great feel to it. It's really well balanced, goes fast. I think it looks good. I think some people would say it doesn't look good. I think it looks good, and it is indestructible. But that is the same as the Prindle 16, I believe, that they are also indestructible. What I do like on the Hobie 16, which I know the Prindle doesn't have, is the raised trampoline, which means that you're not constantly catching the back beam in the waves, forcing the nose down, which is nice. Oh, that's fighting talk there, Steve. I don't think we'll do that. Okay. Oh, here we go. I think there's Nitro Hero carbon comp tip and had dagger boards, I think that auto spelling corrector. Okay. All right. Yeah. So we're coming towards the end here. All right, there we go. No more questions, please, because I've got to go home. But I hope that was as much fun for you guys as it was for me. That was a lot of fun, just talking about sailing for a bit. If you have any other questions, yeah, thank you, Steve. Thanks for your input. And all right, Steve's new job is Google Master during the Q&A. Thanks, Giraffe Box. That's a very interesting YouTube handle. Yeah, so there we go. And I think that was a yes to the new idea on Patreon. So I think I'll see about launching that in the next couple of days. And then if we'll just book in, get a cold one, says James. Not going to be asked twice. Yeah, so then we could start pioneering some one-on-one face-to-face problem-solving videos to help you get your boat sorted out. Whoa, Steve wasn't using Google. That is a shocker. He's got it all in there. Steve is, he's like a fountain of knowledge there. Hello, the south of France. Nice to have you on board. We're just bringing this to a close now, so I hope you've been there for longer than just now. But anyway, see you next week for some more Q&A. If not, I should have something up tomorrow, but I might not. I am a machine, but I occasionally need to reboot. So thanks very much, and we'll see you soon.